Actually, we've enjoyed hearing a little more from the Justice Minister around his plans for our justice system generally, because I am pleased to hear that he is a minister in his portfolio who does have a vision for where he believes the justice system needs to go, and has identified all of the various tensions that exist within the justice portfolio. Now, also, I, of course, come at this bill from the perspective of not being a lawyer, but at least I'm intrigued that we're having a wider debate around what causes pressure points in our court system, the impact of our adversarial system generally, but also I'm sure the Minister will also recognise, given he was the individual behind the Drivers of Crime work, that at the very coalface, the first intervention point to peel back the pressure on our court system is, of course, to stem the flow of cases coming through our justice system. And there are many ways in which we can do that, but I think you only need to look at as a starting point where a lot of our young people tend to enter into our justice system to see what the precursors to crime are, and they have been identified both by the opposition and the government. It seems that the tricky part is actively investing in those areas when the demands of the public are often in the much shorter term area of heavy retributive justice, imprisonment and so on. So that's where I guess the tension in the end then tends to fall. I guess, though, this is the Legal Services Bill, though, touches on a different element of the justice system, but in an interesting way. When we're talking about incentives and disincentives in our system, there are particular pieces of legislation that have been passed by this government which will put additional pressure points on our legal aid system that I want to come to. But first, I do want to just acknowledge that the Minister did raise that this is a two-way issue. That we're not just talking about the quality of our legal aid lawyers, but also the relationship that they in turn have had in the past and going forward with the Legal Services Agency. And I acknowledge that too. However, it does strike me that we're at a point where those relationships must be rebuilt. That this bill represents an opportunity to move forward for both the agency and lawyers operating in this field, and that the bar in particular, I think, has called for the opportunity to meet with the Legal Services Agency. I'd be interested from the Minister if the bar in particular in South Auckland has had that opportunity. The last time the agency met with us, met with us at Select Committee, that had not occurred. And I think in terms of moving forward, that would be at least a very good symbolic act. I do want to pick up on the purpose of the Act under Part 1, given that is what we're discussing here in committee stages. And it's interesting, I think, to note there are two things that stand out to me. The beginning of the purpose, that is to promote access to justice. It's not a passive purpose. The promotion of access to justice, I think, implies that this has always been underpinned by two very important principles, that a successful justice system must have within it an element of accessibility, but it also must demonstrate to members of the public, whether they're using the system at any given time or not, that they can have faith in the system that exists in New Zealand. And that's where I think that really important word of promotion sits. But it's also, the second element is that it delivers those services in the most effective and efficient manner. Now, the efficiency question is an interesting one for me, because although the Minister has talked about the $400 million funding gap we're going to have to bridge, I don't think he's acknowledged the impact of some changes, the perverse impact that some bills, such as the three strikes, may have. Now, I know that he is not the Minister responsible for this bill, and he may choose not to defend it. But because of the principles of collective responsibility apply to the Cabinet, I'm sure he wouldn't mind addressing the committee stages on whether or not he believes that bill will change the incentives within our justice system. And it's one thing to talk about procedural matters, depositions, etc. It's another to talk about the overall impact that those legislative...
Call the Honourable David Parker.